Hello, Unite Scholars. This is Stephen again. Wanted to meet with you again today to tell you a little bit more about presentations and speeches in front of people. I also wanted to review a bit of what we did in the last session. We talked about greeting, opening the speech with a hello or a story perhaps, or some sort of way of acknowledging your audience in a positive way. Eye contact, which is very important. We want to see your face. We're not interested in the top of your head or any other part of you except the fact of you looking at us. We want to make sure we do intentional speaking. You want to be sure that you want to have thought this through and respected your audience enough and yourself enough to do this with an intentional quality. You want to stretch. You want to make sure your blood is moving and your energy is up. And you want to be you. That's perhaps the most important lesson that was in the first session. It was be you. The more you're you, the better the speech will be, and the more effective the presentation will in fact be. So today, what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about opening with humor. And one of the things about speeches is that it's a contract. We don't sign the contract, but there's a mutual agreement that when I am speaking to you, you are listening and watching me. And you give me that respect. And in exchange for that respect, what I give you is information, entertainment, a story, something important, or I wouldn't be standing in front of you with the energy of giving you a speech, correct? And that's important to remember, that sort of unspoken contract. One of the ways to have that contract work out in your favor is to use humor. I tried to use a little bit of humor in the last session just to kind of make sure you were really listening. In this case, what I wanted to do is talk about the way you use humor. Perhaps my favorite way of using humor is to make fun of myself. So if I can make a joke about something that I did that was so silly, and yet I learned a lesson about it, and it relates to the topic of what the presentation is about, that's gold. That's a wonderful, wonderful way to have it be. You can't always do that. There's not always a way to fit a funny story into every presentation. So sometimes you just have to sort of wing that. And what I mean by winging is you get up in front of the audience and you do your greeting, and then you literally tell a story or a joke or something that's going to get the audiences leaning into you. That's what you want. You don't want them to start thinking about what they're going to cook for dinner. You don't want them to start thinking about what they're doing next once this thing is finally over. You want them to be really into what you're saying. And you want to be able to see that in their energy. And you can do that in a live situation. It's hard, of course, it's impossible. In this case, I can't see you at all. I have to just trust that you're listening carefully and watching carefully. So that is a goal. And it's easier said than done, but it's something that you should give some thought to. How to have a piece of humor at the beginning, and most often a joke on you. Making fun of other people is just not as effective. It's also, people are turned off by it. They are offended sometimes by it. So I think the whole idea of making fun of other people is not a good idea at all. But making fun of something that you did is a perfect example. All right. The other thing I wanted to have you do is a little exercise. And I want you to try this with each other. We went through fill words a little bit yesterday. Like, I think we didn't say, but in our culture is still a fill word. You know what I mean? Like, that. Um, these let you think, as we said, right. The thing about those fill words, though, is they're very effective if you know them all, and they're really good to avoid, but you have to know them all. So I'm going to give you a little exercise here, and I want you to work as a group, and one person at a time walks up to the front of the room or the class, and I want you to be the worst possible speaker ever. I'm not going to tell you how to do that. You should know, especially since we've started talking about the things you should be doing in a speech. So try to figure out how to be really bad using fill words. Maybe you talk really sort of not very loud, and therefore it's not very exciting. Okay? Are you with me? Or maybe you laugh the whole time. Well, if you're giggling, we're probably not going to be giggling at all, right? Or we will, but we'll be feeling sorry for you. So think of ways you can be a really bad speaker. And the worst speaker wins this contest, okay? Because it makes me know that you know what the mistakes are that you can make. For example, walking up to the podium or the front of the room, and then once you get there, having a little bit of a nervous tick. This is annoying, isn't it? You don't really want to be watching me do this while I'm talking to you, because now what you're thinking about is, why is he doing that? You're not thinking about the wonderful words I'm saying. Hopefully the words will be wonderful that you're saying, but you can't pay attention if you're being distracted by erroneous movements. So I want a full report on how bad your speeches were. Bye.